Right now, a company you never chose is holding your social security number, your birthday, and every address you have ever had. In 2017, they lost all of it, along with 147 million other people's, the largest data breach in American history. Someone moved through Equifax's systems for 76 days, taking the financial identity of half the country, and nobody noticed. No firewall stopped them. No analyst caught them. The break-in only ended because of a routine chore that no one even connected to a crime. An employee renewed one expired security certificate. It had been dead for 19 months. And the moment it woke up, it exposed months of theft that no one had been there to see. So how does that happen? Start with what Equifax actually is. It is one of just 3 companies that quietly grade the financial life of nearly every American. Lenders check that grade before a mortgage. Landlords check it before a lease. Some employers check it before they even make an offer. They hold the keys to your financial life, and you were never handed a say in it. And in 2017, Equifax left one of those keys in the lock. The strangest part is how ordinary the mistake was. There was no master hacker, no zero-day nobody had ever seen. It started with a warning that Equifax was handed in writing and did not act on in time. March 7, 2017, security researchers disclosed a critical flaw in Apache Struts, the web software running Equifax's online dispute portal. A patch was released the same day. The next day, the Department of Homeland Security personally told Equifax about it. Equifax told its own security team to patch it. On March 15th, they ran a scan to check. The scan didn't find the vulnerability. The patch was never applied. The same warning went to 2 of Equifax's biggest competitors, Experian and TransUnion. They patched. Equifax didn't. 5 days before that scan even ran, someone had already walked through the door it left open. They were in, and they were patient. From mid-May through late July, they pulled data from 51 separate databases, a little at a time, every request wrapped in encryption to blend in with the company's own normal traffic. That encryption should have set off an alarm the moment it left the building. Equifax had a tool for exactly that. It was the alarm from the start of this video, the one that had been switched off for 19 months. July 29, 2017, someone on Equifax's security team renewed that certificate for entirely routine reasons. The monitoring tool woke up, and it immediately started flagging months of traffic that had been sitting there in plain sight the whole time. 76 days, 51 databases, and the only reason anyone found out was an unrelated IT chore. But the public would not learn any of this for nearly 6 weeks. Some people inside Equifax would not wait that long. 4 of them were senior executives, while the public still knew nothing, and their customers' data was already gone. Those 4 sold roughly $1.8 million in company stock. A board investigation later cleared those 4, saying they didn't know the details when they sold. But one man was not cleared, Jun Ying, in line to become the company's next global chief information officer, put the pieces together on his own, concluded Equifax had been badly breached, and sold before anyone else could know. He dodged about $117,000 in losses. The government charged him with insider trading. The public still had no idea their data was gone, but inside the building, the breach had already become a stock trade. September 7, 2017, Equifax finally told the public, roughly 147 million Americans, social security numbers, birth dates, and addresses, some driver's license and credit card numbers too. Almost half the adult population of the United States. Remember the data from the start of this video: your social security number, your date of birth, every address you have ever had. If you were an American adult in 2017, the safest assumption is that it was in there. Weeks later, CEO Richard Smith resigned. He spent the next week testifying in front of 3 separate congressional hearings, apologizing over and over, calling it human error and technological error. Congress wasn't satisfied. 2 years later, in 2019, Equifax agreed to pay up to $700 million to the FTC, the CFPB, and every U.S. state. At the time, it was the largest data breach settlement in American history. But if you filed a claim expecting the $125 cash option, you probably didn't get it. That fund was capped at $31 million total. Nearly 4.5 million people applied. After lawyers were awarded $77 million in fees, most consumers ended up with somewhere around $6 or $7 each. A record fine that paid out in pocket change, a resigned CEO, an insider trading charge. For years, that was the whole story. Then, in 2020, it changed completely. In February 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice indicted 4 members of China's military for carrying out the Equifax breach. Prosecutors called it the largest theft of sensitive personal data by state-sponsored hackers ever recorded, not a criminal gang looking for a payday. A military intelligence unit mapping the financial identity of half a country. According to the indictment, the men spent weeks quietly mapping Equifax's database structure before they ever pulled a single record. This wasn't a smash and grab, it was reconnaissance. None of the 4 men has ever seen a courtroom. China does not extradite its own military officers, and the indictment itself all but says so. This was likely the only consequence they would ever face. So this was never really about identity thieves selling your data on a forum. U.S. prosecutors say a state actor was quietly building a database on half of America, and the door they walked through was left open by a scan that failed and a certificate nobody renewed. So what do you actually do about it? You can't pull your data back from a foreign government. That copy is gone, and it is not coming back. But there is one door still in your control, and almost nobody bothers to lock it. A credit freeze is free, in every state, for life, and it's the single most effective thing you can do. It stops anyone, including you, from opening new credit in your name until you lift it. Freezing your credit takes about 2 minutes per bureau and costs nothing. Do it at all 3, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. A freeze at only one leaves the other 2 doors wide open. And here's the part that should stay with you. Every expensive defense Equifax owned was working. The firewall, the database controls, the monitoring tool. The breach didn't beat any of them. It walked past all of them, through a patch nobody applied, and a certificate nobody renewed. Equifax didn't lose to a genius. It lost to a to-do list nobody finished. And 3 years later, prosecutors say a foreign government was the one holding the results. If this changed how you think about that later on your own patch list, subscribe. This channel breaks down how these breaches actually happen every Tuesday. And tell me in the comments, have you frozen your credit? Next week, we go back to a story you already know part of. The same crew that talked its way past MGM's help desk didn't stop there. In 2025, the same playbook took down major UK retailers in one of the most damaging retail hacking sprees Britain has ever seen. The teenagers who hacked MGM next Tuesday.